Hello and welcome to Canguro English. My name is Christian and today is Thursday, the best day of the week. Now, today I am going to answer a question that I get asked all the time, and that is, should you learn British English or American English? Which one is better? Should you choose a teacher from London or a teacher from New York? But before I answer that question, I want to actually teach you some American English. So what I want to do is I want to read a transcription of a conversation in American English. And the conversation is from this book by John McWhorter. Fantastic book. And it's a conversation with a woman, and her name is Shirley. Okay? So, are you ready? A girl named Shirley Jones live in Washington. Most everybody on the street like her, 'cause she a nice girl. Shirley treat all of them just like they was her sister and brother, but most of all, she like one boy named Charles. But Shirley keep away from Charles most of the time, 'cause she start to liking him so much, she be scared of him. So Charles, he don't hardly say nothing to her neither. Still, that girl got to go round telling everybody Charles supposed to be liking her. Now, maybe you noticed in that piece of text that there was some usages of English that maybe you've never seen in your textbook, that maybe you've never heard in a podcast, that maybe your YouTube teacher has never told you about. But this American English is spoken by at least 40 million people in America. So, to give you some perspective, the population of England is 55 million. So there's almost as many people in America that speak like this as there is in all of England. And the population of Australia is 26 million people. So almost double the population of Australia speak in this way. So let's have a look at some of the particular characteristics of this English. And the first one, maybe you noticed, is the different and unusual ways of using the verb to be. And the first one is in the text, she says, she, my sister. Now, if you've been learning standard English, like most people do, then you notice that something is missing. The verb to be has been deleted. We should say, she is my sister, but not in this text. Another unusual way that the verb to be is used is when she says, she be scared. She be scared. And again, it's another unusual way to use the verb to be. It's not conjugated. The correct way is to say she is scared. But in this particular type of English, this unconjugated verb has a special meaning. It means that something is habitual. Something is a habit. Something is normal and regular. So she be scared means that, she's scared a lot. She's scared as a habit, which is different from she is scared. And finally, you'll notice as well that she said they was her sister. They was. And again, you can see it's not correct, right? Because the verb is not conjugated for they. It should be they were her sister. Okay, so let's look at some other characteristics from this particular type of English. And it's very difficult to erase this board. God. Okay, so she live in Washington. What do you notice here? Again, you'll notice that we are not adding the S on the third person. It should be she lives in Washington, right? And another thing is, towards the end, she said, she hardly don't say nothing. Have a look at this. What rule of standard English does this violate? Well, in standard English, we don't use double negatives. In fact, you could say that maybe this sentence has a triple negative, because hardly is negative, don't negative, and nothing negative, right? So all of these characteristics from that very small paragraph of text all seem to break the rules of English. They all seem to be errors. So what exactly is this particular type of English? Well, this is Black English, okay? Also known as African American Vernacular English. That's the technical word for it. And as I said, this is spoken by 80 to 90% of all of the black people in America. So we're talking about 40 million people. Okay? Now, is it incorrect? Is it bad English? Why does it contain all of these errors? Now, there's a few things that we need to understand here, because I want to answer your question about whether you should learn British English or American English. And this is American English. So do you want to learn it? Well, that depends. So first let's ask, are these errors? Are these mistakes? Well, there's some really fantastic research done by a woman called Shana Poplack, okay? And she looked at the history of African American English. Where did it come from? Why does it contain all of these errors? And listen to this, the conclusion from her paper. The evidence presented here suggests that many of the features today considered non-standard were not created. On the contrary, they were retained from an older stage of English. So, what I'm telling you is that these are actually retained characteristics of Old English. Spoken by who? Spoken by the colonialists in America who worked with the slaves. So, for example, that strange usage of the verb to be, well, you can find that in Yorkshire. In Yorkshire, people will say, she my sister. That bad conjugation of the verb to be, they was her sister, you will find that every day in London. What about if we don't conjugate the verb for the third person? She live in Washington. Well, if you go to Ireland, you'll hear that as well. And finally, this one, all these double negatives. Well, if you go to Manchester in England, you'll hear double negatives, triple negatives everywhere. So it's not that these are mistakes, it's that these are actually older forms of English. Some of these forms you will find all over the United Kingdom. So, why am I telling you this? I mean, why is it important to understand? Now, I always tell students that you don't choose between American English and British English, you just learn English. Because any English that you learn will be uniquely yours. And I'm not saying that to be cute. And I'm not saying that, that you need to be lazy and forget about studying hard because, well, English is English. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the language that you speak is a result of your life. Where you live, how old you are, how much money you have, your level of education, who your friends are, what kind of job you have, all of those things and many, many, many more come together to create your very specific type of English that you will use. And so here's a question. Should you not conjugate your verbs, not add the S? Should you drop the verb to be in your sentences? What is standard English? No, wait. I just want to learn standard English. I just want to learn English from London. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. As I said, in the UK, go to Manchester, go to Yorkshire, go to London. All of these places have their own specific ways of speaking. And so the question, should you learn British English or American English? The answer is neither. You should be a language chameleon. What you want to do is you want to be able to talk like this when you're in a situation where that's necessary, and to talk with more standard English in a situation where that's necessary, and understand and use all of these different types. It's incredible to think that this question about British English and American English really is just a question of marketing. It's a question of somebody opening a school and hanging up a Union Jack or hanging up an American flag and promising you that they're going to teach you the kind of English that everybody can use and understand. But that's not how language works. There isn't this one magical language that everybody knows and everybody understands and everybody uses. Because language is used by humans to do stuff. And the things that you do and the way that you do them are all part of your culture. And as I said, your English that you learn and use will be a result of all of your experiences in the classroom and in your life. So stop worrying about A4 sheets of paper that list the difference between British English and American English, between fridge and icebox, between boot and trunk, because really it's completely meaningless. Just focus on learning English that you can use to do stuff. I'm Christian, this is Canguro English, and I'll see you in class.